Is it live streaming? Okay.
There you go.
Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to the February 9th, 2021 meeting of the Comox Valley Recreation Commission. Beautiful sunny day today. Of course, acknowledging that we are conducting our meeting in the traditional territory of the Comox First Nation. We're also a good partner in many of our endeavors, including recreation. So today will be budget day for us with 3 services, but first we have a management report for receipt. Seconder online.
Second.
Thank you, Director Morin. And anybody opposed or any questions regarding the management report? There being none, we'll consider that received. So the first report today, we'll look at our sports and track and field service and over to staff for presentation of the budget and financial plan.
Thank you very much, Chair and Commissioners. And Jennifer Zabin is here to make the presentation for the 3 budgets that you have in front of you. She will be supported by our finance staff and others that may be able to help her answer any of your questions.
Thank you. Through the chair, staff are here today to provide the Comox Valley Recreation Commission with a proposed 2021 to 2025 financial plan and work plan highlights for the Comox Valley Sports Track and Field Service Function 601 to 603. This service includes funding for the operations and maintenance of the track and the synthetic turf field at the Comox Valley Sports Centre, Vanier School, and the Highland School fields in Comox. Bit of a service overview. On May 12th, the board adopted a COVID-19 renewal plan for the review of services and all necessary critical and functional projects slated for the next 5 years. Recommended actions for the plan were brought forward to the relevant committees, commissions, and partners for the review over the summer. The CVRD has reached out to nonprofit organizations utilizing these fields to support adapting to changing community priorities with outdoor programming opportunities and realigning resources to support community renewal initiatives. There's some minor budgetary impacts and implications for the services that were identified in 2020 and across 2021 to 2025. Under strategic drivers and strategic goals, we have fiscal responsibility. The turf fields and track both have a major maintenance replacement plan projected in future years. Therefore, ongoing reserve contributions of 100,000 plus annually ensure these improvements can be completed to ensure ongoing service delivery. Next up, we have for strategic drivers, community partnerships. And this service is built on strong partnerships between the School District 71, the City of Comox, Courtenay, and the Town of Comox. The CVRD partners with the School District 71 and the City of Courtenay for the operations and maintenance of the track and synthetic turf fields at Vanier. The CVRD partners with the Town of Comox for the operation and maintenance of the Highland fields. Staff have been working towards developing a fixed agreement for this partnership. And the CVRD and School District 71 and the Comox Valley United Soccer Association work together on an operating committee to ensure fair usage of the synthetic turf field. And the CVRD partners with the Comox Valley United Soccer field, United Soccer, and with the school district for a field house looking to be positioned next to the synthetic turf field. Under 2021 work plan priorities, we have the soccer field house. The Comox Valley Soccer Club is in the early stages of putting together a plan to build a field house at the Vanier site. The CVRD has allocated recreation grant funding to this nonprofit organization through the Rec Grant Service, Function 600 to support construction. So while that 600 grant is not linked directly here to this, I just wanted to make sure everybody understood the link there. Staff working on future service agreements, and there may be some additional cost share expenditures for the janitorial services allocated from this budget in the range of $2,000 to $5,000. So there's that minimal impact. In addition, the soccer club has indicated to the CVRD that they may be seeking to have another synthetic turf field project initiated in the future. Over the next several months, CVRD staff will be meeting with the soccer club to gain some further information on this initiative. As details and information become available, staff will inform the commission. So this 601 to 603 is very strongly linked to partnerships. The CVRD does not own any of these fields, but works in strong partnership. So the revenue services, this service budget is primarily funded through the requisition and grants in lieu. The tax requisition for 2021 is 172,604, which is a slight decrease from 2020, resulting in an estimated residential tax rate of 0.0092 per thousand of assessed value. So for a property assessed at 500,000, the key tax levy would be $4.60. A small amount of revenue is also realized through the reimbursement of lighting costs and sport field rentals, as well as grants in lieu. A slight decrease in other revenues is recognized due to field usage loss as a direct result of COVID-19. And maybe the best news story of this scenario is the amount of lost field use time has been relatively small in comparison to any indoor recreation type of a facility. Under the personnel, the CVRD provides a staff to book the track and as a representative on playfield issues at a budget of $3,597 for 2021, a 48% reduction from 2020. Operations, a majority of the operational expenses relate to the maintenance agreement costs with the School District 71 and the Town of Comox for soccer, rugby, ball, and synthetic turf fields, including the utilities. The operational costs for 2021 are proposed to increase by a slight amount of $438. We've lost power everywhere. Shall I hold tight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just hold a second because we lost the commissioners as well.
So it's all in your hands.
Yes.
We don't have quorum, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm sure Director Hillian and I could.
Oh, there we go.
Perhaps we are still live streaming. It's just that we lost the screen. Can any of the directors online give me a hi?
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. We lost
all
one of the
good,
screens
all good.
here. Okay,
got a
that's
quorum.
great. Good. Okay, good. We everything is reestablished. Sorry for that interruption. We'll continue with the staff report from Jennifer and maybe just catch up 1 minute ago in case anything got lost.
So I just see if I can Lisa, can you backtrack the slide for me one? Thank you. So I think about where we may have lost the screen was under operations. Majority of the operational expenses relate to the maintenance agreement costs for the School District 71 in the Town of Comox for soccer, rugby, ball, and synthetic turf fields, including utilities. The operations costs for 2021 are proposed to increase by a very small amount of $438. The reserves, the CVRD has two separate agreements. Again, there's that partnership with the school district that require an annual contribution by both parties. Reserve transfers for this service include an additional annual contribution to ensure funding for the CVRD portion of asset upgrades and replacements is available, minimizing future volatility in the requisition to the ratepayers of the service. The last piece to the puzzle of the budget of the capital of this budget is the capital and asset management. The track and sports field facilities are not owned by the CVRD. However, when a capital upgrade or project is contemplated, the local agencies work together to determine the financing and operational details. These details would then be brought to the CVRD board for consideration. The 2021 to 2025 financial plan for this service does not contain any allowances for capital projects, although reserve contributions are proposed to fund asset replacements when the time comes. The synthetic turf field has an expected life of the field of 22 to 25 years with a major midlife upgrade to the field turf top projected between 2024 and 2026. And the sports track capital upgrade, expected remaining life of the track service is 10 to 15 years. So between year 2023 to 2028. And something really important to note is both of these fields are currently or these surfaces are currently in very good condition. Staff will look to work with the School District 71 to do a review, a study on the surfaces prior to making the decision of when to replace. There is the possibility of these replacements happening further down the road than initially earmarked in this staff report. So we're very happy to be able to report that they've been well maintained and are living a good life so far. So on that note, I believe that's everything, and I want to say thank you, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you. Indeed, a good partnership with the school district around the track and field and all the users. And I noticed this weekend there was people there definitely using the facilities. So some questions. We have Director McCollum.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks for the report, Jennifer. It's great to see what's coming through the service. Just a question around the artificial turf and the engagement with the local soccer club with regards to the new potential expansion on the synthetic surface as well as the clubhouse. It hasn't come up for a few months, but it has been something that has been regularly mentioned to me as a parent at the field and also as a local official on just the impacts of vandalism that the club has experienced toward the equipment that's on the field, as well as just the continuous garbage that gets dumped on the field. I assume that it's probably after hours and in the dark. And I'm wondering if there's been any engagement around some possible ways to mitigate the vandalism that's going on there. And I'm not that I want to throw out some suggestions, but I'm just wondering if there's been conversations around that.
Through the chair, as the regional district doesn't own the sports track and field and the turf field and it falls underneath the school district, I do know that they are working on a way to sort of support or unsupport, if I could say, vandalism, and certainly the part about cleaning up around the grounds and under the benches. We've had discussions we've brought forth to their attention as well. And I do know that the operations department is working hard on sorting out how they can sort of, I think, combat that and hopeful to find some processes to put in place.
Thank
Great,
you, Jennifer. Thank you. And maybe we have Trustee Wade sitting in for Trustee Howe today. Maybe she can fill us in whether this has hit the school district board table as a topic. I'm not sure if she's there, actually. Sorry. She was there early. Okay, yeah.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, thank you. There was a question about vandalism and other activities at the soccer field, the track in the track. Yeah. So we're just wondering, staff was saying that that belongs to the school district. So just wondering if this came up ever as a topic at your school district board level.
Yeah, it has for sure. And I know one of the things that the district has done is some media promotion about encouraging the public to report if they see something that just doesn't seem right. I know that's one of the things that the district has done was to, because it's happening, you know, in all sorts of properties of the school district and in our community, and trying to connect people to reach out to the authorities when they see something that isn't right. And there may have been other things that we were doing, but that's the one that that rises to the top of my mind right now.
Thanks for that extra information. Did you have a follow-up, Dr. McCollum, or are you good?
No, that's great. I just wanted to flag it as it seemed like a good opportunity to mention it because it is something that's come up a few times, and maybe also in the development of the clubhouse, if there's some opportunities there for security improvements, that it's just something to keep in the mix if we're speaking with the club. So
yes, yeah, absolutely. And I think we mentioned that at our last meeting, looking at security cameras and such. Thank you for the question. Dr. Amir?
Thank you, Chair. Just a segue from that conversation regarding the clubhouse. You know, I was just wondering, I know I'm assuming that COVID kind of punctured the sales of that initiative, and I'm wondering if you have a timeline, Jennifer, of when construction might start on a clubhouse. Is there an idea of when things might get going?
Through the chair, we just recently met with the school district and the United Soccer Association And at this time, the Soccer Association is completing all of the paperwork, the engineering and the drawings, pardon me, the drawings, but the engineering study for the location. That will then be provided for the school district, for the operations department to do a final approval. And from there, the school district or the operations department will submit the permitting process to the city of Courtenay with an anticipated shovel ready to begin in late spring, early summer, and hopeful to have the project completed by September is our understanding.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I think that will be a very uplifting project as part of the recovery as well. And I understand there had been questions from directors before about the operating and maintenance agreement. And I understand from staff that that's being worked on as well with the soccer club and ourselves in the school district, correct?
Through the chair, that's correct. Prior to, I guess, setting foot into the actual soccer field house, there will be a user agreement or an addendum to the current user agreement that will be reviewed between the school district and the regional district.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Any further questions from commissioners? Okay,
Move receive report.
Yeah, thank you, Director Grieve. And a seconder?
Second.
Thank you. Anybody opposed? Thank you, that's carried. Next on our agenda is, the recommendation. Yeah, we are on budget. Thank you, Director Hillian. And a seconder, that's to move basically the financial plan for the Comox Valley Sports Track and Field, function 601 to 603.
Do you need a seconder?
Yes, thank you, Dr. McCollum. You are it. Anybody opposed to the recommendation? There being none, that is carried. Thank you. Moving on, we have the financial plan. First time we see this budget at the commission. So that's the exhibition grounds, which have come under our function this year.
Move 660.
Thank you, Dr. Grieve and Hillian. Over to staff.
Thank you, through the chair. So maybe the first thing I'd like to say is welcome to the Recreation Commission to be part of the function 660. So staff are here today to provide the Comox Valley Recreation Commission with the proposed 2021 to 25 financial plan and work plan highlights for the Comox Valley Exhibition Ground Service function 660, which includes the Stonehenge parcel. The exhibition grounds is the home of the Comox Valley Farmers Market, Exhibition Fall Fair, and the Curling Rink, Therapeutic Riding, Comox Valley Music Fest, Rib Fest, and several canine and equine users groups, as well as many walkers. Delivering public service and providing safe access to the grounds continues to be the focus of this service. I think you've got it, Lisa. Thank you. So with the Rethink Comox Valley, again on May 12th, the board adopted a COVID-19 renewal plan for the review of service levels and all necessary critical and functional projects slated for the next 5 years. Recommended action plans for the plans were brought forward to the relevant committees and commissions and partners for the review over the summer. Staff have been working closely with multiple user groups to help them carry on with their activities, classes, and or programs within the COVID-19 Public Health Officer guidelines. Under strategic drivers, we have the community partnerships, realigning resources to support community renewal initiatives. So the Comox Valley Curling Center building was utilized for 2 initiatives in 2020 that will continue on in 2021. Lush Valley Food Hamper Program and the Curling Club for day-to-day processes worked together to share that building space. And they carried on until the startup of November. Curling Club paid 50% of the utilities. Lush Valley was at no charge, and the regional district picked up the other 50%. We also have the Economic Recovery Task Force action. The exhibition grounds remains ready to support the goals of the Economic Action Plan by providing a land base. The 2020 work plan accomplishments in the summer of 2020, staff requested proposals for a design and flow plan integrating the Stonehenge Farm and exhibition grounds property together as one site. And this will be presented later in 2021. We anticipate staff coming forth in March. So again, in the summer of 2020, staff requested the proposals. What we envision is as a gateway to recreation with a strong commitment and focus on the preservation, restoration, and celebration of the site's ecosystem, extensive research and analysis of the physical, environmental, cultural, and public use, future use, and long-term sustainability of the site to be carried out before any major changes will take place. And then the second piece of our 2020 work plan was staff continue to build on the exhibition grounds maintenance and upgrading plans projected in future years. It's quite a large property. There's a lot of things that need to be taken into account when you're putting maintenance plans together and working on those properties. There are fields, there are riding rinks, there are buildings, there are also trails, there's a floodplain. There's so many things that need to be taken into account when putting together a maintenance plan. For 2021, again, the design and flow plan encompassing both properties together as one site. So we have taken that as a carry forward into 2021. Work started in September, and we anticipate the final report being in our hands for the end of February. Speaking to the strategic driver fiscal responsibility, the exhibition grounds has a maintenance and upgrading plans projected in future years. The requisition for 2020 is unchanged over the prior year and remains flat over the 5-year financial plan. For the Economic Recovery Task Force, the agricultural sector has a number of actions that the CDRD exhibition grounds can support throughout 2021. In particular, working with the planning department and local organizations to determine if the exhibition grounds is the appropriate location to advance some of the goals of the sector. So it's pretty exciting. It's a beautiful piece of land. There's lots of things that it can potentially be utilized for. The main source of revenue for the Comox Valley Exhibition Ground services is the tax requisition, and again is proposed to remain unchanged across the 5-year plan at $486,000. Sales of service and user fees for 2021 are projected at $68,000. There is a potential for some reduced revenue depending on the outcome of the provincial health order restrictions. And the beautiful thing here is that it's an outdoor ground, so you're battling less of the COVID restrictions outdoors than you are going to be doing indoors. So we're very hopeful we can carry on with regular business and any new programming that we're looking to put down there. An estimated prior year surplus of $48,000 has been budgeted into 2021 and will be further refined upon the completion of the 2020 year-end process. Personnel costs are proposed to increase slightly from $3,735 to bring that up to $87,000. Overall operating expenses, which include maintenance, a maintenance contractor, and utilities, are projected to be at $215,530, which is a decrease of $21,749 over 2020. And this is due to the design and flow study that was undertaken. So 50% was completed in 2020, and we're carrying forward 50% into 2021. The 2021 budget includes the $20,000 in minor capital to provide for the 2017 Exhibition Grounds Master Plan recommendations of wayfinding signage for on the grounds and in Stonehenge. And at the first glimpse of the design and flow study, it has that same recommendation. So it was time to get that put into the budget. The exhibition grounds and Stonehenge site have evolved over time. It's been recognized that a design and flow plan is needed to better integrate and plan for the future development of the grounds and the Stonehenge sites, 6 sub-areas, and adjacent road and river boundaries and interfaces. Upon the completion of the design and flow study, staff will be putting forth recommendations for 2022 and beyond for the exhibition grounds and Stonehenge site upgrades, which will further see utilizing the appropriate reserve funds in future years. So in closing, in response to strategic goal 1 for the Rec Commission, asset management, contributions to reserves are to maintain and prolong functional lifespan for buildings, structures, and land conditions, and are proposed at $70,000 in 2021, increasing to $175,000 over the 5-year plan due to upcoming debt retirement. Projected ending balance for 2025 is $1,057,000. And again, an updated capital plan for the grounds will be presented to the Commission in 2021 upon the completion of the design and flow study. The exhibition grounds remains ready to support the goals of the Economic Action Plan, again, by providing a land base. And staff are also going to be bringing forth a review of municipal and electrical area service participants to be brought forth here in 2021. We anticipate that coming up within the next couple of months. So on that note, I'd just like to say thank you, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you. And it's been nice to see the exhibition grounds serve different services through COVID and adapt to the needs of the community. And Lush Valley was a good thing to to shine the light on. Thank you for the report. I see a question from Director Grieve.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Jennifer. My question is around the debt retirement. I know that we did borrow money when we bought the Stonehenge property, and we had some money we spent before that. I think 2011, we spent money on upgrades for the site, service upgrades with the electrical kiosks and the water. So are those combined? Are those both going to be retired around the same time?
Through the chair, I'm going to pass this question off to our CFO, Mariah, if I may. Or pardon me, Kevin. Thank you. Sorry, Kevin.
Thank you very much. Through the chair to the directors and to Director Grieve. So currently within the financial plan, we have two debt issues, an interim financing, which was done in 2016. I believe that was for Stonehenge. That is slated to retire this year in 2021.
Okay.
Remaining long-term debt, that is actually slated at this point to retire in the fall of 2023.
So, okay, so we're getting in a very good position on that property for some possible future projects. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Grieve. Dr. Hamir.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair, and thank you to staff. I can't express how thrilled I am that the exhibition grounds are coming under rec services. I think, having an integration of that whole area around Vanier and with the exhibition grounds, the running tracks, I think there's a lot that can happen there. I just wanted to ask a couple of questions in terms of the user groups currently. Are you seeing any changes to our agreements with the farmers market, number one, and any inkling if we're going to have a music festival this year at all?
Through the chair, in respects to the farmers market, I'm not seeing any changes in the agreement at this time. I think they're really wholeheartedly looking to move forwards, and we're very excited to have them back on the grounds when it's time. And for the Music Fest, I'm not comfortable maybe to speak on behalf of them, but I can speak to in respects to they will not be booking the exhibition grounds fields this year for a Music Fest.
Okay, that's good to know. I think for future planning, when you do your flow assessments that are coming up, will you be including those user groups though, like as future, like the farmers market, obviously they're continuing to use, but as music festivals on pause right now, when you are doing your flows, are they going to be considered?
Through the chair, now is the best time for us to look into those kinds of things. The design and flow study in part came forwards after the completion of the 2017 exhibition grounds master plan. It had sort of missed a particular component that we were looking for. So we do have the results from the 2017 master plan that we are taking a lot of into consideration, but also since COVID has hit and we are rethinking and restarting, we will be having all of our groups that do normally participate on the grounds to have some updates and further conversations with as we move forwards with the outcome of the design and flow study.
Okay, great. Good to hear. I'm really glad that we are reaching out to all the user groups. And I know you, just speaking to Lush Valley, they are constantly saying how thankful that they are with the work that you're doing with them. So I just wanted to pass on our appreciation for the amount of outreach and help that you're providing the community groups. So many thanks for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Amir. Over to Director Maury.
Great, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Jennifer, for the report. Yeah, I agree. I'm really happy to see that this is coming under our newly named Recreation Commission. I was curious about, you made reference to the potential for more activities to occur there with having those outdoor spaces or those semi-outdoor spaces that perhaps have more ventilation and more space for activities. And I wondered if there was any sort of organized committee that's working on that in collaboration with the other rec centers, maybe activities that aren't able to be indoors, shifting to those locations, and whether you're having any regular meetings with rec staff across the valley, or even to come up with some new activities that could be done in those locations as part of kind of COVID recovery, and perhaps a new vision going forward.
Through the chair, the recreation department staff, particularly the programming staff and the senior leadership staff, sit on collaborative teams through with all of the other rec facilities. So the senior manager will sit with all of the directors and senior manager team to work collaboratively at moving recreation forwards in the community. The programmers all sit on a committee together. And one of the areas one of the things we do talk about is that we do have this wonderful outdoor space that is available, and how can we work together to provide further programming or new programming, different programming. Now, the other municipalities, they have their own outdoor spaces as well. So ours is a little more on the unique end. And if I could maybe give a little bit of a sneak peek into what we're looking to do this summer for programming is, and it's sort of coming through the rec complex service budget, is that we're doing a series of educational summer camps down at the exhibition grounds, where we have the Solom Restoration Association that will be working with our staff and putting on educational camps to do with the exhibition grounds, to do with the rivers, and the fish in the rivers, and the environment. So we have we've sort of reached out to many groups to get those kinds of programming, that kind of programming going on the grounds. And we're also doing some partnerships where we hope that all 3 or 4 municipalities will work together. And for this particular activity, you'll be coming to the exhibition grounds. For this particular activity, you're going to go to the town of Comox. For this particular activity, you'll be going to the village of Cumberland, and then to the city of Courtenay, but yet it's one program that you've registered for. So you get to have a taste of every municipality's recreation abilities in today's COVID world. So the programming part it's big, and it's, staff are continuously working on it. And the list of programs gets longer and longer and longer that we're hopeful to be able to offer and offer together as a collaborative approach through recreation in the Comox Valley.
Great, thank you. Can I have a quick follow-up, Chair, please?
Go ahead.
Great. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of, which is great. And I guess I just wondered if there was any need for anything extra in the budget, a small amount for that kind of work, and even for promotion or marketing of kind of a looking at recreation in these different ways, or if you feel that you're able to do that under your existing personnel costs that are allotted, and marketing costs, etc.
Through the chair, especially with working in collaboration with the other municipalities, we're finding that we're so far able to do joint marketing throughout the Comox Valley, and that's been a big key versus the CVRD doing their own marketing and then the city of Courtenay doing their own, and so on. There's some initiatives that we're able to pull together and do as joint marketing, which we're finding is sort of financially beneficial to do. So we're working on it. At this time, we think that we've hit the magic number within the budget for our current marketing needs, but it's certainly something to keep in the forefront and continue to consider.
Great. Thank you so much for all the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Morin, and over to Dr. Cole Hamilton.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you so much for the report, Jennifer. I was really heartened to hear the use that's being made of the full space on the exhibition grounds for outdoor, and also the collaborative work between the different local governments and their rec departments. And this may be a chance to explore how well that collaboration works with the eye towards a sort of a universal pass at some point in the future when there's more time to work on issues like that. And I just wanted to quickly put it in a a plug out for Music Fest. While I'm also don't speak for Music Fest as a pass holder, I received an email from them the other week, which just says they'll be doing a 2-week-long virtual Music Fest, which people can engage in from their homes. So Music Fest is still continuing, but not in the traditional format. Hopefully they'll be back in 2022. Anyway, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that information, Dr. Cole-Hamilton. Is there any further questions in the room here or online? Thank you. So good comprehensive report on the exhibition grounds. Anybody not in favor of a receipt? There being none, that passes. And there is a recommendation to move the, thank you, Dr. Hillian.
Second.
Okay, that was the perfect duo right there. So we should probably put 2 seconders. Can we do that, corporate? Awesome. And so anybody has questions before we vote on it? It's the financial plan for exhibition grounds, function 660. Okay, I'll call the vote. Anybody opposed? And that passes. Thank you. Our last, we saved the most interesting one for last, and I know that's one that's generated, that generates a lot of questions and dialogue in the community, which is our plans around both the aquatic center and the sports center. So I'll entertain a motion for receipt of the staff report.
Move receipt.
Thank you, Dr. McCollum.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Cole-Hamilton, and over to staff again.
Through the chair, thank you. I'll just wait for the PowerPoint to come up here. Thank you. The staff are here today to provide the Comox Valley Rec Commission with the proposed 2021 to 2025 financial plan and work plan highlights for the Comox Valley Rec Complex Function 645. This function provides funding to operate and maintain recreation facilities in the Comox Valley, including the sports and aquatic centers. The 2021 to 2025 financial plan is focused on balancing the budget with expected COVID-19 impacts and related revenue losses with offsetting cost reductions, while utilizing this downtime to complete necessary upgrades at facilities and mitigate future closures and related service and revenue impacts to complete service improvements. So again, there's that rethink, and this is probably, in all of the recreation services, this is probably the most important one and the biggest one for us to understand that we're going to be doing things differently and investing in the future. So the commission approved the COVID-19 response renewal plan in July 2020, and recreation services plays an important role in the Comox Valley's renewal phase. So I'm just going to give you a couple of snapshots of strategies put forth by the recreation staff to make certain of the responsible decision making. Initiating a conservative, flexible opening approach to respond to community uptake, public health directives, and fiscal prudence. Managing operating costs by acknowledging lower revenues with a level of service delivery. Assessing and returning services on a revenue and cost ratio as openings and program services are promoted, allowing adjustments as needed. Re-evaluating traditional operating models with a focus on new registration requirements and lesson structure initiatives. Deferring some capital expenditures such as lighting and sound systems in 2020. And supporting the promotion of healthy lifestyles and invigorating community spirit through physical activity as a priority and continue to be a catalyst for community connection. We have some strategic drivers that are incredibly important for this service here. And what I want to say today is that the fiscal responsibility and asset management, they are tied so closely and tightly together, and they work as partners. So under fiscal responsibility and asset management, we have an asset and inventory and life cycle costing report was recently completed and will inform future asset management upgrades at both facilities. The sports and aquatic centers both have major maintenance and replacement plans projected in future years. A $2.19 million grant for the sports center was submitted recently using these recent asset management studies, which if successful will significantly alleviate future funding pressures. Those two work really tight hand in hand. We also have the strategic driver, which is very important as well as community partnerships. The sports and aquatic centers serve as a home to many community clubs, including minor hockey, ringette, figure skating, lacrosse, and swim clubs. The curling center is actually also operated under this, under the Recreation Budget 645 on an agreement with the regional district. We have a relationship with the School District 71 for the provision of healthy programs for students and working with the member municipalities on the regional low income pass. Moving forwards, there are challenges and there are opportunities here with this recreation services. 2021 still remains highly unpredictable and operating costs will likely still increase at a higher ratio compared to revenue intakes. And that's a really important thing to understand here. The goal through expected ongoing COVID-19 facility closures and limited attendance is to utilize this opportunity to make significant upgrades to both facilities and minimize future service disruptions and revenue impacts that occur through capital project upgrades. The long-term goal is that we want our recreation services to be long-term sustainable and to be able to be open long-term down the road. In order to get there, we have to do the things that we're proposing today in this report. Our 2020 work plan. So under our Recreation Commission's strategic goals, accessibility. So COVID-19 has done nothing but shift us left and right and left and right and left and right. And we're constantly trying to adjust to provide programming to our community and to have help our user groups be able to utilize our pool and our arenas. So we've been working on our programming, assisting user groups on the return to play, swim and skate plans, as well as having active Comox Valley website up and running so that there's some free accessible things that people can do in the community. The next up we have is in our 2020 work plan is our partnerships. So again, there's that partnership with the Curling Club and Lush and being able to provide a home for Lush to do their program and as well as for the Curling Club to carry on with their day-to-day business. And we also have our partnerships with our member municipalities for the low income pass. And another partnership that perhaps we'll call it a partnership is working with the Glacier Kings to do a renovation on a room for them within our facility. We also have the Indigenous relations. We have had a summer cultural camp partnership with the Wiche Friendship Center, and we have another one coming up here in 2021, which we'll get to in a second. And then under asset management, so again, looking after our facilities in 2020, our concession, which was built partly in 1973-74 and updated a little bit in 2010, it's receiving a facelift. We have a mezzanine grant application that we're waiting on the outcome. This was submitted in the fall of 2020 and hopes to have a mezzanine renovation. Staff have completed the security cameras, the phone system and IT upgrades and a condenser in Arena 2, as well as what I think many people of the public don't realize or don't see is all the work that's done behind the scenes on all of our pumps and filtration systems and air handling units. Those are things that you won't see that work because it's all behind, blocked off in maintenance rooms. We have work safe requirements on a yearly basis that we need to stay on top of, things like enclosing the chemical handling areas and again, getting new chemical pumping systems. We have two items that we'll be carrying forward into 2021, and that's the Aquatic Center stereo, which is not just used for music and for the exercises, but it's also our emergency system for being able to announce, and the EV charging stations for the Sports Center, the Aquatic Center, and the exhibition grounds. In our 2021 work plan priority, in response to strategic goal number 1, asset management. Again, there's that asset management word. We're including in our professional fees, $50,000 for an aquatic center facility assessment. So we've completed the sports center pool assessment. We've done a life cycle assessment on both facilities, and now it's time for the aquatic center to receive its health checkup. We want to ensure investments are made in 2021 are at the highest need and the maximum investment of reserves. So this would be $50,000 for this. The joint aquatic service study, indoor-outdoor collaboration with the City of Courtenay of $30,000. And again, there's the carry forward item of the replacement of the aquatic center sound system. In response to the strategic driver climate crisis and environmental stewardship and protection proposed, we have that carry forward item of the installation of the EV charging stations and the replacement of the Arena 2 ice resurfacer, which will become an electrical ice resurfacer. When it comes to asset management, staff continue with maintenance upgrades during the shutdown, utilizing the asset management process through the recently completed facility condition assessment at the sports center and the aquatics staff study that was completed, provided us to be in a position to be grant readiness for the COVID-19 infrastructure resilience stream application, which staff submitted in early 2021. These various studies that we do on these facilities are so important so that we can be ready to jump to get work done. We can apply for grants and we can, in a sense, forecast the future of the health of the facilities. As well as in the upcoming assessment for the Aquatic Center for developing long-term upgrade and renewal plans for recreation infrastructure through the strategic funding strategies to achieve sustainable service delivery. These studies and facility assessments ensure funds invested maximize the investments made in asset management upgrades and provide the information needed to create work plans and support grant readiness. And here I'd like to take you right back to that rethink slide that we just showed. We are doing things differently and we're investing for the future. That's a very important thing for us to have on our forefront. For the proposed budget, so the proposed tax requisition of 4.8 with an increase of 300,000 from the 2020 levels of 4.5 to provide some stability to the service with ongoing COVID and ensure sustainable service delivery in the short and long term. There's been no requisition increase since 2016, yet our facilities keep aging, but we've been keeping that requisition flat, but they keep getting older and older. This budget includes a $223,000 COVID-19 restart grant funds, again, to assist with ensuring services are maintained through the COVID-19 in 2021 and can resume with an expected fall 2021 service delivery. Sales of service and user fees for 2021. This is a very important fact, I think, for people to understand. They're projected to be at 1.1 million, which is 16.3% of the overall budget, a decrease of 750,804, or if you will, 40% in comparison to the 2020 budgeted revenues. This is a direct result of the COVID-19 facility closures and reduced program offerings, including the expected ongoing closure of the Aquatic Center until the fall of 2021. The surplus carry forward for 2020 is presently estimated at 600,000, and this is being refined through the 2020 year-end process and will be updated to final figures in the recommended budget. So what I would just like to say there is that a requisition increase of 300,000, the restart grant funding of 223,000, plus the estimated $600,000 of surplus is required to balance the budget to move forwards with the current service levels that we're at and a capital plan to continue things going. So you take a look at what it is taking to run the services right now the way we are today, and it's a lot. The personal costs are going to decrease by 306,000 and a bit, and this is due to adjusted staffing programs. And I know it's not reduced at the same level as expected program revenue losses, and that's due to the additional COVID-19 measures for following the provincial health guidelines. Costs to staff, the sports center only, are 1.5 times that of the regular operational periods, which puts further pressure on this budget and maintaining services with increased cost pressures. So to give you an understanding, if we were to add the Aquatic Center in at this time, we are now looking at 2 to 2.5 times the amount of money to run with the Aquatic Center open. The operational is going to decrease in 2021 by about 72,000, and that's due to the decrease in utility costs and scheduling for other operational efficiencies and cost reductions throughout the year. The debt for the Arena 2 ice surface is retiring in 2021, which is some good news. This will enable increased reserve contributions to funds, ongoing facility upgrades to maintain service levels. Remaining debt servicing and long-term debt is for the curling center renovation that we did in 2015. So a few words, maybe a little bit more than a few words. In closing, Rec Services is operating at a net deficit to keep the sports center open. And opening the Aquatic Center through the spring and summer with the lowest seasonal revenues would be too significant for this service to bear and would affect future service delivery of rec facilities in the region. The combination of that and to meet the public health requirements, staffing costs to operate the facilities are much greater to ensure appropriate safety guidelines are in place, with reduced revenues due to the limited capacity to meet social distancing requirements. The Sports Centre has been operating through the pandemic at a similar cost as operating both facilities and is a much easier facility to manage the COVID-19 protocols. So having said this, it's time. We have an opportunity here to make our goal for this year to focus on balancing the needs of community safety through COVID-19 and ensuring the recreation facilities can manage the pandemic financially to ensure sustainable services in the short and long-term time. We would continue to offer activities at the Sports Centre, which has remained open through the pandemic, while making improvements to the Aquatic Centre during the spring and summer before an anticipated reopening in the fall of 2021. This proposed budget can achieve this goal through maximizing available reserve funds. The downtime provides an opportunity to undertake strategic upgrades, which over the long term will help minimize future closures and deliver a higher quality services. Time is of the essence to make this decision. We need to move on this sooner than later to ensure that we can complete these projects. Providing a safe community recreation programs is the recreation services and the organization's top priority. COVID-19 has demonstrated the need for flexibility, patience, and that sustainable delivery service is not just for today, but for future years to come. We're working hard for the community. We don't want to take the closure lightly, but this is the reality. We have a choice. We can be in limbo for another year, and we can go open, close, yes service, no service, yes service, no service, or we can provide the community with a solid path. The Sports Centre is open for these services here. The Aquatic Centre will remain closed until 2021, September 2021, and we can get going on these capital projects. That provides certainty to the community, certainty to the staff. We know we're going to get this work done. We have a facility open, and we know the second facility will come back online in September of 2021, providing there's no further wrinkles with the COVID-19. So that's what I have to say today. And I'd like to say thank you, and I'd like to hand this over for any questions.
Thank you, Jennifer. And I think it's clear. I had to read the report 3 times. There's so many threads coming together, and I think all directors probably acknowledge the tremendous amount of effort that has gone into both the budget and the strategy. And I know there's lots of interest in the community. So questions from directors? I'm sure there must be some. Director Hilding.
Thanks very much, Chair, and thank you, Jennifer, and your staff for all the work that went into this. I appreciate both your clarity and your passion. We did have a delegation a couple of weeks ago advocating for the reopening of the Aquatic Centre, and I take it fairly clearly from this report that you don't see that happening until the fall, and I will support that. I think that the community not only can understand certainty, but actually craves certainty in these very uncertain times. I'm just wondering if there's any communication that has gone to those individuals in particular, or if there's been any other outreach to that community regarding the challenges that people were apparently experiencing with booking times.
Through the chair, at any time that a community member comes forth, whether it's through a phone call, through a visit, or through an email, when they're expressing their desire to have the Aquatic Centre open up further, we do have those conversations with them. We do have to remind them that there's such uncertainty with public health requirements, and the cost of getting that facility up and running, it doesn't balance. The other piece for us is when we take a look at our wait lists, we recognize that a big majority of the community, I think, has accepted where we're at today with COVID-19, and recognizing that, outdoor activities is where you want to be. You want to try to use the indoor rec services when you can, but just given the constant changes and the constant guideline changes that say scale back, take it outside. I think that Comox Valley has graciously accepted that. That's where we're at. Moving forwards, at the end of today's session, we will be putting formal communication out, depending on the response today.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Director Moray.
Great, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Jennifer. I really appreciate your strong message around the necessity for this budget and these actions. And I guess I do appreciate that. I understand it. I understand the rationale and all of that, but of course we will have folks who won't understand, who will compare to other communities that have centers open or more times. And of course, we have our own unique circumstances that we're dealing with. So I guess I mean, this isn't really a budget question, and you did allude to the communication plan. And I guess it's just my hope that the communication plan will be as clear and as you've spoken today, because it really, it made sense and it was very user friendly. And I think that the public, as much as we have many of the public understanding the restrictions that we're working under, I think that there needs to be a really clear communication plan that outlines our unique circumstances that you've said today, and why we need to make these kind of decisions. Because of course, even though it is an increase in requisition and it hasn't happened for 5 years, I guess, there will be some grumblings probably about reduced services, even with acknowledging that we need to look after our assets. So thank you for all your work. I know these aren't easy decisions, and just looking forward to that really clear communication plan going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe I will formulate a question out of your comment, Dr. Morin, because I have seen online that this was referenced quite a bit around maybe other communities doing things differently, like Port Alberni and Campbell River. And I think there's some misconceptions around that. I'm wondering if staff today could clarify whether we stand out as being that different from the approach of other communities.
Through the chair, we have 2 facilities in the Comox Valley where a majority of these communities have 1 facility. Taking Port Alberni as an example, their facility is not open. Strathcona Gardens is very similar with the level of programming to what we're offering down here in the sports center. What we've really come to recognize is there's a fair amount in the community that don't realize the sports center pool is open. We have open swims that fall within the guidelines of the provincial health orders, and they're not full. There's 1 or 2 people in them, which leads us to believe that there are people out there that don't recognize it. And seeing the communication streams out on the various social medias, it's clear that there are people that don't recognize that the sports center pool itself is open. As we head further down south, down the island, most locations that have 2 facilities, such as in the bottom end in Victoria, there's a fair amount of facilities that are on very reduced and restricted programming. 1 facility will offer these types of aquatic programs. Therefore, the other facility will offer the other ones because they're not going to have enough clientele for both to offer them. So staff don't feel that we're out of the norm by all means. We do work on a cohort up and down the island to share what we are offering and what we're not offering. And it's very consistent up and down the island from what we can tell in respects to what we can offer, length swimming, open swims, etc.
Thanks for clarifying. Dr. Hamir?
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to staff for that really comprehensive report. I'd like to concur with Director Morin's comments about the communication plan, and that might very much help with some of the misunderstandings in the community about what facilities are open and why we are doing the way we are in the direction we're going. And I'd like to support staff's decision to keep the aquatic center closed. I know it's not a popular decision, but I think it makes good sense and for all of the reasons you've already stated. Just to continue a little bit on Director Hillion's comment about the presentation that was made. I'm not so much worried about the reopening of the the aquatic center. My question was around the comments that the residents made around the registration system, and whether staff had a chance to look at what was happening around, or I guess the difficulty around trying to book times. Have staff had a chance to look at that?
Through the chair, staff are continuously reviewing that registration program by all means. Sometimes I think where the issue is that if you have everybody trying to register at the same time, it's sort of the same idea as trying to buy concert tickets, and you're trying to get those tickets for Elton John, and you've got a 2-hour window to get your ticket before they're sold out. It's sort of that same scenario that the system, which is up in the iCloud, it's not anything that we can do to improve that. It's if everybody decides to go on at the same time to register, it's going to weigh down the system. And I think it doesn't matter which system you put in place, you're going to have that same issue when it comes to online registrations. We continue to work with the provider to improve things whenever we can, as much as we can. But ultimately, we start putting things up into the iCloud, and it's like getting in the line in the grocery store, and it takes the time.
Okay, thanks for that. Chair, could I have another follow-up question?
Go ahead.
Just wondering then if you see, or if you continue to see that the free swim is not being taken advantage of, is there a way of increasing the lane swimming? I mean, it seems that's where a lot of the demand is. Do you have that ability to, decrease space for one and increase space for the other?
Through the chair, we certainly do. Staff are currently working on the overall schedule to add in length swims wherever we possibly can, because that certainly is probably the one item that's maybe missed the most for those that are swimming, and is probably the toughest to access, because it's 6 lanes, which means 12 people max at a time. So staff will be looking to increase the hours at the sports center, and we can increase them Monday to Friday up to 10:30 and 11 o'clock at night. And on the weekends, for those open swims that don't take off, we'll be looking to remove those to put in lane swims. We would like to provide the opportunity, though, to get those open swims off the ground, because that provides family opportunity to get out, a family bubble to get out and into the water. So we'd like to give that a true, honest try before we switch over to length swim.
Great, thanks for being so thoughtful about that.
Thank you. Over to Dr. McCollum.
Thank you, Chair, and I'll just give the warning that my internet's been a bit unstable, so I apologize if I start breaking up here. I'll try and be quick. First of all, I just want to say thanks for this budget and your approach to it, Jennifer. I certainly agree with the decisions that are outlined, and especially your closing remarks. It is really hard to balance the needs of certain user groups against the needs of the community and what this service is able to sustain. And it strikes me as extra difficult with a facility that we have, that there is a way of opening, but yet the cost is unfeasible. It does make it a harder decision. Earlier in the pandemic, I heard a lot from user groups at the Lewis Center around squash, because it's an activity that I participate in. And then as it became clear that that was just not something that was going to work with the health orders, there was no more discussion around it. Whereas with something like the swimming pool, it's not quite so straightforward, and it's a hard thing to balance. So I just want to say that I agree with the approach here, and I really hope that we'll be able to see this facility open in the fall. I also appreciate that we're looking at kind of accelerating some of the maintenance that's available, or that's not in the not too distant future on this facility, and looking at that at utilizing this closure in a productive way. So I'm glad to see that. One question I did have, we didn't discuss user fees at all. And obviously the cost of providing services to users now is greater due to staffing costs. And we're hoping that won't be a continuing issue as we have our health orders lifted down the line. But I'm wondering if any thought has been given to whether or not we're going to review user fees as we look towards opening up the aquatic center down the road, or if we're fairly comfortable that we can get back to user fees being fairly reflective of the cost of running the facility.
Through the chair, user fees have not changed since COVID coming on board into our lives. It's the same user fees that we had prior to when both facilities were open. The one difference is generally with our user fees, you have a bit of a value package. You can pay for the adult rate and you can use the pool and the wellness center together. And with the COVID rates, we have not been able to allow that value added. So that's maybe where the difference is a little bit, is that it's not that the fees have increased. It's just that you're now focusing on paying for one use versus two uses at the same time.
Right, that makes sense. No, my question was additionally, are we going to give some consideration to if we need to continue with increased staffing costs further down the line, if as a revenue source, if we're going to have to look at increased user fees, or if we anticipate being able to continue to cover them in the way that we've been doing up until now?
Through the chair, pardon me, thank you for repeating that question. We will be doing a review. There's a yearly review that is done on the fees and charges, and it will really depend on what the future holds for recreation, with COVID and with costs. And, are we hopeful that we can maintain where we're at and not do an increase to help our community? Absolutely. But what that looks like today and what that will look like down in the fall, that's obviously assessment that we'll have to keep an eye on. Great. Yeah, thanks for that. Is there enough time to ask a second question, Chair?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, and just another thing that jumped out for me, it kind of in the list of upgrades and replacements that are outlined in the report. I noticed one of them is a sign replacement along Ryan Road for $65,000, and I appreciate with the asset management plan that we're looking at assets that have reached the end of their useful life and in need of upgrade. And I just want to express that I'm not totally certain that is a good asset to replace. I've spent a lot of time in that area and walking along that sidewalk, and that the traffic along Ryan Road has gotten more and more chaotic in the 20 or so years that the aquatic center has been there. And I'm not sure that the investment in $65,000 in replacing a sign that is probably.
You can still hear us, Director McCollum. We just lost the screen again, so just bear with us. Hopefully it comes back at the same rate as earlier.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, we just couldn't hear you for a little while. You're back, so carry on. Is staff ready?
Okay, so that's probably my internet connection.
So we're on the sign topic.
Yes.
Yeah, on the signage. So I just think that the way that people receive information around recreation and what's being offered has changed a lot since we implemented that. And I just want to highlight or flag that maybe we could give some consideration as to whether that's the best approach for public communication. And I just think it's not the greatest place for a sign to begin with, but also it's probably less effective now than it was when the decision was made to put a sign up there 20 or so years ago. So that's the only other comment. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. McCollum. And I noticed that the vegetation has grown quite a bit in those years as well, and camouflaging the sign a little bit. Any comments from the staff? Is that something we can give consideration to, or that it does look a little old for sure? And
through the chair, staff are reviewing what that sign's actually going to look like and how it's going to fit. It has been one of our main marketing sources where we can quickly put up there's a swim meet on this weekend, the facility is closed. So before you actually drive into the parking lot, or if you're not someone that doesn't look on the website, it provides that opportunity. We are a little surprised at how many people it does reach, because when the sign is a little bit behind the times with getting updated, we hear right away very quickly, but staff will certainly take that into consideration while we do the review for the sign.
Great. I appreciate that. And I understand you would have a better sense of how well utilized it is than I am, but just wanted to point it out. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions on this big item? So, no, that's still Dr. McCollum. Yeah, so it looks like we're getting close to the end of questions on this. And in summary, I guess our strategy is to, I wouldn't call it maintenance. We're looking at some fairly major capital projects so that when we do restart the Aquatic Center, we'll be giving a new lease on life. And in the meantime, people can utilize the sports center and many of our other programs. It's a tough decision. And I think staff also mentioned that they had looked at what it would mean to open the Aquatic Center to September. And wasn't it close to an extra, I forget the exact sum, but Jennifer?
Through the chair. So just in actual staffing costs, we have an additional $480,000 just for the staffing costs. That doesn't include everything else to operate it, in return for an additional $65,000 in revenue for the year.
Okay, thank you. I didn't quite catch that earlier. So so on receipt, anyone opposed to receipt? What's
Sorry, Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry about that.
I just saw you. Go ahead.
I realized that I did have a question. If we could go back to the screen with the budget.
Yeah. Give us one moment.
I don't have it written down, unfortunately, but it will jog my memory when I see it. It was just a question about, there was kind of a general item that I think said other, let me see. I have my glasses on. Oh yeah. So other revenue and recoveries. I was just curious if you could give me some examples of what that covers.
Sorry, through the chair.
As I see there's an increase in the 7,000, and maybe you've already mentioned this and I've forgotten already, but thanks.
Through the chair, though, that's where the contributions for Area A and Denman and Hornby Island come into in the budget.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you for the question. So it's nice now we have the budget up as we prepare to vote on it. Oh, we did. It's gone now. So yeah, at this point, I think we just did receipt. So I'll entertain a motion for approval of the budget for the sports center.
I'll move.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Hamir. And who was it? Was it Cole Hamilton?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Yes, for recommendation 1. Anybody opposed? And that passes. Our second recommendation ties to the BC Safe Restart grant funding in support of 2021 capital project. And that's the allocation to the recreation complex service. So those are, that's actually a recommendation, I think, that could have applied to a number of services, and the Recreation Commission would benefit from this. Anybody wants to put that forward?
I'll move that.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. That's great. Anybody opposed? And that also passes. Thank you. And a seconder. Thank you, Dr. Kettler. That's the Comox Valley Recreation Commission support the aquatic center upgrades to utilize the expected COVID-19 related closure period as summarized in Appendix A, i.e. to September 2021. And pending completion of the aquatic facility assessment underway, the pending COVID-19 resilience infrastructure stream grant application, and finalization of the recreation operational and capital plan for funding levels. Lots to do for Jennifer. And anybody opposed? And that passes. There being no new business, there being apparently no media, except they're probably watching us on YouTube later. I'll entertain a motion to terminate. Dr. Kettler, Director Hellion, and anybody opposed. And we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to staff.